guys, remember when times were good? When you could have video game articles and they wouldn't actually have to do with like activism or feminism? Remember those days? Yeah, I miss Nintendo Power too. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and I thought we were done talking about Resident Evil 4. I mean, I played the game 3 times through, I put out my review, I gave the game a score, a 6 out of 10, which I'll defend. I think that's a pretty solid and honest score. If you haven't seen my review to figure out why it's so low, I mean, well, just watch the review when you're done with this video. Point is, I thought the controversies around the game was over, and that everyone with the exception of me loved it and thought it was a masterpiece. Well, ho-ho, apparently that ain't so, because now we have Kotaku, because of course it's always Kotaku, talking about how Resident Evil 4 failed Ashley Graham. You can't make this up, let's get into it. The Resident Evil 4 remake totally failed Ashley Graham. Capcom's remake thankfully cut Ashley's upskirts, but it forgot to add a personality. By Ashley Barden. And let me tell you, no matter how you feel about Ashley, the original version or the remake, I'm sure she is tons more fun than the Ashley that wrote this article, because, well, this one spends the entire time complaining. You'll see what I mean. Leon, help! In 2005, Ashley Graham, preening President's daughter and your game companion throughout most of Resident Evil 4, was best known for this booming, blubbering outcry, and second best known for the moving car flashes of white underwear some fans have dubiously obsessed over for nearly 2 decades. And for those of you that didn't notice, that was all one single sentence. That's right, 5 lines of dialogue here, all of them one single sentence that, of course, does have to include the underwear upskirt controversy, as if it's actually controversial, all in the first sentence of the first paragraph. If that doesn't let you know what sort of article we are in for, I don't know what will. The supposedly more socially conscious 2023 Resident Evil 4 remake reduces the frequency of Ashley's cry time and tosses her a escort for protection, but outside of a few scattered scenes, doesn't add anything to make her into more of a person. Without her ridiculously sexist former qualities, victim and sex object, Ashley's more ghost than woman. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and talk about this first article. You know, any of you guys that watched my Resident Evil 4 review and thought that I was too harsh, know that I at least had some semblance of fun with the game. This person here is the ultimate definition of a fun sucker. I mean, they're literally talking how she had a escort for protection. Dude, it's a video game character. It's some ones and zeros of data that make up a fictional character on screen. She don't need protection, because nothing bad can happen to her. Like, she can get, like, axed in the face by Ganados or shot by Leon's gun all day long. Trust me, she's not real. She doesn't feel it. You can't protect this fictional character. She ain't getting, like, sexually assaulted by any of the gamer bros who are playing this game. Like, you must all think that there's some sort of sexual deviance, because she ain't real. So, yeah, the whole escort for protection is completely... It's just an annoying way of framing things, as if, you know, to damn male video game players who want some sort of, you know, sexy character models. But also, calling her former qualities, you know, sexist, you know, being a victim and sex object. I don't think that Ashley was ever considered a sex object. Resident Evil has had far more and better women for that throughout its runtime. I mean, Ada and Jill, off the top of my head. I suppose there's some wackos out there that like Claire as well that don't have an accounting for taste, but hey, it's still better than Ashley. Point is, Ashley, even if she was a sex object, she was still a video game character from 2005. You can stop acting like she was a victim of Bill Clinton. The remake is otherwise masterful, so I was disappointed when I came to that conclusion, but it kept shouting at me while I played. Ashley is preoccupied by Leon the entire time she trails him, only speaking to issue him a heads up, Leon watch out, or to stutter assent when he commands her to do something. Oh, okay. When he stops moving, she stops too. To heave from all the jogging. She gets caught in bear traps. Leon gets lifted off by parasitic cult members. Leon help, and can't stand to see Leon hurt. Leon no. Even Ashley's expectedly corny quips, which for other characters are stilted but real opportunities for personality, revolve around Leon. Hey Leon, there's some armor. Bet you could use it like a bulletproof vest. Whenever asked about herself, if she's hurt, she demurs, I'm okay, I guess. Where is the problem with this? She's a damsel in distress. You're complaining about a damsel in distress character in a series renowned for strong female characters. It is totally chill if Capcom wants to have one damsel in distress type. I mean, Resident Evil has had strong female characters literally from the first game. And no, not just Jill. People often forget Rebecca as well. When you play as Chris, Rebecca is one of the main people who help him on his journey. You got 2 strong female characters in just 1996. And then Resident Evil 2 comes out, and it ups the ante. It gives you Claire, it gives you Ada, it even adds Sherry, who is a capable female at like 12 years old. I mean, Annette Birkin, yeah, she's a bad guy, but clearly she's a science whiz. You know, she was one of the people that helped make the G-Virus. Resident Evil 3 comes along, we see Jill, more capable than ever. So Resident Evil 4 comes along, we have Ada once again. So yeah, it took 4 games, technically 5 or even 6 games if you want to count Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica, both of which came out before Resident Evil 4, also both with strong female leads, once again Rebecca and once again Claire. So really, it took 6 games for there to be a damsel in distress archetype. I feel like it's fine. You're not doing your sexist women's movement any favors when you try and make a case that Resident Evil 6 Ashley has little character and you know, she's a damsel in distress archetype when you're complaining about a video game series that has always prominently and proudly had strong female characters. You come off looking like the sort of loon that, frankly, a lot of us think that you are. The longer I spend with her, the less I feel that I know who she is. The problem might not have bothered 2005 Resident Evil 4 players as much. They were satisfied to accept Ashley as the cardboard caricature she was intended to be, a shrill, incapable girl, except for when she's impishly berating the player for peeking up her skirt. "Hey, what are you looking at?" she'd say in the original game. "Oh, you pervert." An early fansite's interview with 2005 Ashley's voice actress Carolyn Lawrence gleefully mentions these upskirts, calling it the fun question, and asking if recording Ashley's upskirt reaction seemed odd to you. Get the hell over it. A, it's a video game. B, it's a video game from Japan. Things are a little bit different over there if you didn't know. And C, you're calling her a cardboard caricature of what she was intended to be. Guys, you acting like male characters are never sexual objects, but last I checked, every single MCU film has to have Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth, you know, shirtless and showing all their beefy muscles. I mean, didn't the most recent Thor movie literally do an entire scene around Zeus flipping Thor's clothes and making him disappear and exposing his nudity for all the women to see, for lots of oohs and ahs, and you get to see like his shredded abdomen? I mean, let's be honest, it's alright to sexify and sex up some of the genders in certain games now and again, or in pieces of media. Sex sells, and even then, it's a joke. It's done for comedy. It's not like Capcom's out there being like, "Hey, you, the 2005 gamer, you know what we want you to do in between killing zombies? Objectify women." They're not promoting it. It's a joke. Move on. You got no comedy in your life, Ashley, and that's a bit of a problem. They did show me a couple scenes where Ashley starts running and her skirt flips up and you get a little peek at her panties, Lawrence responded. I gave them a hard time about that. I have a feeling, I just have this sneaking suspicion that back in 2005, this voice actress didn't give a hard time about being able to see Ashley's panties. Because, A, voice actors don't have a whole lot of pull in terms of like literal game design, and B, it was 2005. She was probably just happy to be getting work, like most voice actors, since, you know, it's effectively a gig economy. You go to auditions, you hope to get the role, you perform it for a certain period of time, then there's no guarantee you get to come back for sequels or anything like that, so it's just on to the next job. I don't think that even if she did get to have any sort of input, which is highly unlikely, I don't think she made any sort of stink about the fact that you could see these, you know, 3D model graphic panties now and again in an M-rated zombie game. Apparently to no avail. About Ashley, a 2012 blog titled "She's Always a Woman to Me," Resident Evil 4 complains she can't use weapons, she can't climb down ladders, she can't avoid standing in bear traps, but does she have any redeeming factors? Actually, in my honest opinion, she does. She's some sort of cute robot, the blog continues. She also gives you a cheer when you show off some of your 1337 shooting skills, which gives you a well-deserved boost to your ego. Great. That might have been enough for the early 2000s gaming boys club, but modern gaming has been trying to move past one-dimensional female characters, bestowing them with more flesh and blood, and not only pretty underwear. Can you sound like any more of a condescending "see you next Tuesday"? I gotta be real here. Video games have always had female characters. Samus has been a strong female character since the 90s. Then again, we have Resident Evil, which almost always has a strong female. We got Tomb Raider, we got Bayonetta, we got Princess Zelda, who unlike Princess Peach ain't always being captured. She's usually out there fighting, literally right alongside Link, or doing stuff in the background of the shadows to aid you in your quest. Zelda is a very competent female hero character that often gets just assumed she's a damsel in distress because, let's be honest, that was sort of the motif for Peach, and people just slap that, moniker on her as well. But that's not true. Go back, play a lot of Zelda games. She's actually a pretty active combatant and part of the story, not just a damsel. Point is, we've had a lot of female characters. Who cares if this one isn't exactly, the toughest, most macho, feminist, I can do anything type of girl boss? They don't all need to be. If you want all your female characters to be like that, that's gonna get pretty boring really quickly. I also, as a side note, don't like the idea of calling early 2000s gaming boys club. Like, I knew plenty of girls back then. In fact, I was one of those kids that grew up without a whole lot of male friends. Most of my friends were females. Every single one of them owned a PS2 and could talk to me about Jak and Daxter or Ratchet and Clank. Hell, my grandmother, my, one lung on oxygen having granny, has been playing video games since I was a kid. Like she's the one that got me into gaming. She showed me the Sega Dreamcast when I was like 4 years old, and let me tell you, she owns every console under the sun from the PS3, Xbox 360 era and back, and she played them all the time. From elementary school, I knew girls that played video games, and then literally in my own life, I had a grandmother, a granny, who played video games. So I really don't like this whole stigma that girls didn't play games back then, because not only is it insulting to me as someone who knew girl gamers, but it's insulting to, your own gender that you're sitting here criticizing and being like, oh, girls didn't want to play back then. Well, that just goes to show that you were a fake nerd or a fake gamer girl. Otherwise, you would have known other female gamers back then, because it wasn't as uncommon as you like to think. Capcom at least seems to have made an effort to follow suit, removing upskirts, upskirt-related dialogue, and the always dissolving health bar that solidified Ashley as spineless, terrible tissue paper for players. And there's more. Hold on, they got rid of her health bar. Oh well, she takes a couple hits and she dies in the original. In this game, she could still die. You can shoot her, she dies. They could still pick her up and run away with her. Just because the health bar's gone doesn't make her any less of a damsel in distress. What are you even trying to prove here? Like, I get the name of the article is how they failed Ashley, but they didn't fail her in the slightest. She's exactly the character archetype she should be. In fact, in my review, I think they did a bit too much with Ashley because they were afraid to go full out damsel with her because of idiots like you, because of fake journalists, because of Twitter freaks. You can't just have a damsel in distress archetype anymore when that's clearly a-okay. It's existed in stories for millenniums because sometimes there needs to be someone or something to save. Not every character has to be perfectly capable, frankly, ever. There are characters that exist purely to be incapable, and that's fine. It helps with writing. Again, it adds variety. So yeah, you want to claim they failed Ashley? I agree that they failed Ashley, but I think they failed her by actually empowering her too much as the game goes on, because once again, Capcom is afraid, because of dumb articles like this, that real gamers don't give a damn about. But for some reason, you got some sort of idea in your noggin here that you have some sort of power. You have some sort of say. When players try to look up her skirt now, for example, Ashley bends to glare at whatever the gamer's camera is, shaming them silently instead of indulging them with squealing displeasure. Her first cutscene in the Remake 2 has her lunging at Leon, a stranger to her, at this point in the strange, unsafe environment, with a weighty candelabra, showing more determination and physical strength than her introductory cutscene in 2005, where she half-heartedly chunks a hollow wood plank in Leon's direction. You're comparing a modern-day game that has a full range of motion and whatnot to a 2005 game where, yeah, visuals are going to be a bit different. Either way, when Ashley was introduced, she initially tries to fight back. Ashley is also much more welcoming towards Leon when she first meets him in the original, because he brings up her dad, and she could tell he's American. She's like, alright, cool. I can roll with this. Whereas in this one, she's incredibly standoffish. Lady, homeboy with an American accent and a firearm just showed up to save you. Maybe don't be so standoffish. He's probably your ticket to ride on out of here. The small part of RE4 where Ashley is playable also seems designed to show Ashley is capable in the remake. There, Leon gets trapped and instructs her to run, but she resolves not to, instead choosing to shudder through the stone depths of Salazar's castle to find her way back to him. In the original, she runs when she's told to, silently but boldly smashing lanterns into enemies until she can return to Leon, who greets her with a hug. The remake's version of these events isn't necessarily an improvement in characterization, because I think both attempts establish that Ashley, despite being a pampered president's daughter, is handling her cruel circumstances as best she can. But it builds off her initial cutscene and her later daydreaming to Leon that maybe someday I'll become an agent like you, pulling together a more complete narrative. More complete, perhaps, but still incomplete. Of course incomplete, because nothing can be good enough for you modern-day wannabe girl gamers. I know girl gamers, real girl gamers, which you guys probably don't think actually exist, or don't think that guys like me would know, because you think, oh, they must not go outside, so they don't know real girl gamers. No real girl gamer is complaining about this shit. They're more annoyed that they're not landing their headshots because of Ashley's dumb AI getting in the way than they are about Ashley as a character being incomplete. So shut the hell up. These highlights are ephemeral in a large game where for nearly the entire time, players see Ashley only speaking, reacting, and dreaming because of Leon. That makes uncomfortable sense to me. Capcom intentionally laid upskirts and kiddish dialogue into Ashley's foundation. Who cares? So-called good girls acquire and maintain their good girl status by acquiescing to the sexual intimidation of men. Linda Lemoncheck writes in her 1997 feminist philosophy book, Loose Women, Lecherous Men, you're really gonna bring a feminist philosophy book into a game about a mythical cult that uses fossilized parasites to take over people's brains? You really think that we care about some sort of feminist manifesto in a horror game about shooting infected cult members? Where is your head? This is why you're a failed journalist working for Kotaku, a failing company, because you clearly do not know what the audience wants. In its remake, Capcom decides that Ashley is no longer just a good girl, but it never manages to fully understand what more she could be, choosing instead to continue to define her in terms of what men are around her, including lewd players wanting to look under her clothes do. Oh, that was also such a stupidly worded sentence. Video games have more to learn when writing compelling women characters, and really, it should have never taken so long in the first place. It didn't take long. We've had compelling female characters since the 80s and 90s. You just refuse to acknowledge it because it doesn't fit your goddamn narrative. Women aren't complex problems, they're people. I think of a comment Belgian filmmaker Chantal Akerman once made, and look at you now, trying to flex your intellectualism because you can name a foreign filmmaker. So can I, Satoshi Kon. It's not difficult to do. It doesn't make you any more prim, proper, and an intellectual just because you can say Chantal Akerman in reference a 1974 movie, JTL. I wrote a story that I liked. Everybody thought it was political, but it was a normal love story. I don't need Ashley to be overtly feminist and adept at handling zombified cult members in order to appreciate her. I simply want to see video games write real women as well as they write real men. Normal, multifaceted women. Again, you're talking about a zombie game. Tell me any zombie movie that's got incredible writing for all of its male and female characters. 9 out of 10 of them don't, because they're zombie movies. In fact, horror movies in general, the bar ain't exactly high for well-written characters in the vast majority of the horror genre, because horror fans, be it games, movies, stories, whatever, know what we want. We want some fun, some gore, some blood, some action, some jump scares, and maybe some sexual innuendos now and again for the people that are into that sort of thing. It's quite a simple formula, and one that Resident Evil has been very effective with, except for when they're not. The point is, video games have written real women. Chun-Li is a real woman. If you know anything about the character of Chun-Li, you know that she is a real, normal, multifaceted woman. But you don't give a damn about that, because once again, it doesn't suit your narrative. So yeah, guys, I apologize for your chemotherapy bills for the cancer that I just gave you, but what you gonna do? There are morons on Kotaku and they gots to be called out. But of course, you very much know my thoughts on this after going through that and hearing the constant mockery. I want to know your thoughts on this, so please let me know in the comments below, or let me know on Twitter where you can find me at BoltTheWord, and please do subscribe. We have gotten above the 800 subscriber mark. I cannot believe we made it this far. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. I can't say how much. I mean, couldn't do any of this without you. We're that much closer to 1,000 now, so again, thank you so much. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, not just about video games and Resident Evil, but also about Magic the Gathering, anime, Star Wars, you name it. It's all here in the nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.